Hi, I'm Debbie Lucci from William Raveis Realtors, and I'm here today with Matt Witte, who is a fellow realtor with William Raveis Andover. And this is exciting because we have our first podcast today. So Matt and I decided to get together and do a podcast. So Matt, what was the subject for the first meeting here that we're going to discuss?
Yeah, very good. Good intro. I think we should talk about offer deadlines because it's a hot topic, and I know the last few years have been over the top with the market and everything in between. So I know Debbie and I love real estate so much. We're gonna have to keep this under 8 hours. So because this is a big topic, and I know primarily we're a listing agent. So from your perspective, what do you tell sellers? So you meet with a seller. Do they ask about offer deadlines? How does it work with you?
So I really think it's good to set the expectation ahead of time when you're talking to a seller. So, um, I sit down with them because I think when you make a decision, you should stick to it. So, and I think you should have the conversation ahead of time. So when I sit down with my sellers, I say, look, we can either accept offers as they come in, because usually like we list property like on a Wednesday, we start showing like on a Thursday or Friday. And if we're going to put a deadline on offers, it's typically something like a Monday at 3 o'clock, make them good till Tuesday at noon. I said, but if you're not comfortable with that, if you like to accept an offer as they come in, then be prepared. If we're starting a show on Thursday or Friday, you could get an offer that early and they could, once it's signed, that's it, you're accepting that offer. So, and we can put, let's say you don't want an offer deadline, you could put, that the seller has the right to accept offers at any time. So, but what I don't think is a good idea is to say you have an offer deadline on Monday and then accept an offer the previous Friday. Everybody gets upset. Everybody gets mad. I think that's how I kind of explain it. Whatever you decide, you should make a decision and stick to it.
Right. And I know from a buyer's agent perspective, and I've talked to you about this year, it's so frustrating when a house comes on Tuesday and I make an appointment for Wednesday and they say it's gone already.
Right. So that happens if you have no deadline, right? You
Right.
just accept offers as they come in. And so in the olden days when I first started, 1998, okay, what we used to typically happen was we used to start the showings at the open house on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Open house used to run till 3, and then they used to accept offers right afterwards. So you used to have a flooded open house. These poor buyers had to make a decision right then and there. And inevitably by Monday morning, you'd have buyer's remorse, right?
Right.
So that's why I think the offer deadline is a really good thing, is because, I say to my sellers, look, you don't want any buyer's remorse. It covers the people that want to go away for the weekend. They can see it Thursday, Friday. They can come back Monday. If they're working during the week, they can see it during the weekend. They can bring their mother by. They can bring their father by. They can get everybody's opinion. So when they make an offer, they've had time to think about it. That's what I think is really the good thing. But
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And think about this for a minute. So if, let's say you had a listing that, and I'm sure you've dealt with this before, if you had a listing that's $1 million and and you have an offer deadline, we'll say Tuesday the following week. So we're on market Wednesday, the following Tuesday is the offer deadline. And you get what appears to be this amazing offer. Can you think of a scenario where a house that maybe was listed had this huge offer and your seller was feeling the pressure to take it, even though there was an offer deadline?
absolutely. I know there's a few scenarios that I've run by during the course, and that's why, like, really now I'm very, very adamant to say, if you're going to put a deadline in place, you should really honor it. Okay, so I can give you the perfect example. It wasn't $1 million house, but it was sort of like when deadlines first started a little bit. And I remember I had a seller, it was a condo here in Andover, and deadline was Monday, started showing on a Friday. And this agent came in, and one of my favorite agents actually came in and wrote this offer, and he was pushing me and pushing me. And what happened is, he had no finance contingency. So that was something that was extremely appealing to that seller, because one of her previous real estate experiences, she had gotten screwed out of that. So the fact that there was no financing was like, that's all I want. I don't care. This is what I want. So then what happened is we had the deadline, and there was another agent that I knew. Actually, he recently moved out of William Raveis, went to another office, and his client was looking at the house, and it went. I went through different agents. I said, "Look, I've got an offer here that she's going to respond to." And what happened is this agent did not respond quickly enough. He was selling another house, and I think he was focused more on that instead of this particular buyer. So then what happened is the buyer was really livid that they lost out. They thought they had to respond by Monday. And the agent got upset and the buyer got upset, and they called the office, and then they called my old boss a long time ago. So that's why I'm very adamant about, if you say you're going to do this, you should do the right thing and stick by it. And I know some sellers have a hard time because sometimes agents come in on that Friday afternoon and try to force
Hmm.
the seller's hand. Like we had one just recently, for example. One of my team members, Mackenzie, came up to me and she said, I get this perfect offer. It's exactly really what this seller wants. I mean, it's cash, it's no home inspection, the whole thing. And I said, well, is there an offer deadline in play? And she said, yes. And I said, then you should tell that seller that they should stick to it. And to be honest, the seller ended up with $25,000 more by waiting.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
That's the scary part. I think the seller isn't used to, that we might be more
yes,
desensitized to, because they'll
right, because
say,
they're
I don't know if
afraid
you,
that that buyer's gonna walk away.
yeah, exactly. And so I don't know what you say, but if they say, what happens if the buyer walks away and doesn't come back at the offer deadline? I say they were likely going to cause trouble at some point anyway, and we're probably
Yes,
lucky they went away.
yep, yep. If they really don't wait, they don't really want it. That's what
Right.
I say to them. So, but I think that that's why it's important to have that conversation from the very, very beginning. And let's face it, Matt, no one's 100% happy all the time. There's always
Right.
somebody that, I want to take the offer. No, it's too long. No, it's too short. So,
Right.
but I just found like, and I started an offer deadline many, many years ago. And I think how I started it was I had this house out in Weston Andover, and there was no comps for it, none. I mean, and the seller was absolutely great to deal with. And I said to her, I think 689. I said, but I may be a little low, not really sure. I think 689 is the price. And, we kind of both agreed on that. And so
Hmm.
I was like, all right, let's let it play out. We'll put it at 689, but let's push the deadline out. And this is the first time I had a deadline on a house.
Hmm.
Let's push it out to after the weekend. That way, if we left a little money on the table, we'll make sure we recoup it. And inevitably on Friday afternoon, one of the agents comes in, she's got a full price offer, 689. And I said, geez, it says in MLS, we're going to wait till Tuesday. And inevitably on Tuesday, that thing bid up way and up above. But if we had taken that offer on Friday, she would have
Right.
left all that money on the table. So,
Right.
you know, I like them because the buyer has a chance to think about it. And I also like them because the seller, really has given everybody an opportunity to test that market. Everybody's had a chance to see it. So,
Yeah.
I know a lot of times, what do your buyers think of it now? When you take a buyer, what do they think? Is it good or
When
bad?
they say there's an offer deadline,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I often will, if they like the property, I'll talk to the agent and say, are you going to take an offer early? Because if you are, we will submit it. And I want to see if they are going to
Yes.
hold true to it,
Right.
because I don't
Right.
want to get fired from the buyer and,
Yes.
and have them say, you told me we could wait.
Right. Exactly. And I know there's some agents that would do that. I don't know if they're doing it because, it's what they do or there's pressure from the seller, but, you know, that's why I think it's important to have that conversation ahead of time. Do your
Yeah.
buyers like the offer deadline?
Saying the buyers don't like anything right now. They don't want competition. They don't want this. They don't want that. But it's they like any other buyer want to lock it up as fast as possible. So I'm not opposed to submitting early. Like we're serious. Here's our offer. And even given the courtesy to the listing agent of the expiration date that they want. You know what I mean? So let's say the offer deadline's Tuesday. Maybe we submit the prior Friday and have the expiration date the following Wednesday. So here's our offer. If you want to take it, fine, so on and so forth. I think if we come in too aggressive and try to pressure them, I'm just not certain that's going to, A, it's going to work. And
Right.
B, I think it just irritates people.
Yeah, it does. It does. The way you present right out of the gate has definitely an impact on how that seller feels about, those buyers and things like that. So if you come out of the gate, but you kind of give them what they want, I've heard sellers say, well, geez, they didn't have to think twice. I must really want this house. And they take that into consideration, you know?
Right. And it depends too how long the person's been in the house. Because I think the numbers are important, but they sometimes want to feel like they're controlling the quality of the person that's moving in. Like we raised all our kids here,
Right.
and that's fair or unfair. And I know we've gotten rid of those quote unquote love letters to try to eliminate some of that. But if somebody comes in super bullish and aggressive, and it really could set them off.
I know. Speaking of love letters, a long time ago when I was dealing with buyers, it was an estate. It was a family of like, I don't know how, like 4 or 5 siblings. And it was this house in North Andover. And my buyers could not go any higher. And the other offer I know was $5,000 more than that. So it was awful. I took a picture of this little girl surrounded by little Easter bunnies. She must have been 2 years old. And I shot it with the offer. And we ended up getting it. So
Yeah.
we ended up getting it, But so
Yeah.
I had to play on something.
That was smart. And that stuff used to work.
It did used to work. Now you
Yeah.
can't do that stuff, but I
Can't do
know.
that anymore. And I'll be honest with you, when I received them as a listing agent, when it was permitted, I never read those. I would go right past those on the offer.
I
I didn't
would
want
too,
any part of it.
but the sellers, used to read them. And when I'm coaching
Mhm.
now in Canada, there's a team I coach with, they still accept love letters up there.
Oh, really? They haven't had enough lawsuits yet.
You know? Yeah. So your buyers overall, they do like the deadlines in comparison to no
I,
deadline.
I think that if a house comes on Tuesday, Wednesday, and most people are working or they might have kids, it's hard for them to get there. So if the listing agent's going to stick to the offer deadline, I think it's beneficial for them, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I do too.
You know,
I like offer deadlines.
yeah, there's no offer deadline on a condo I'm showing today. So it came on yesterday, and the buyer said, "When can we see it?" And I said, "Tomorrow," because there is no offer deadline. So I feel like we have to kind of jump in.
I wonder if that stays on the market past the weekend if it looks sharp one with no offer deadline.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I don't know if you see this, but some agents add up after the fact. They'll start to get inundated, and then people will
Yes,
start saying, "Oh, is there an offer deadline?" And they might say, "Oh, we need one. I didn't know that."
yes.
And I should say too, I've listed houses that didn't have offer deadlines. You know what I mean? It could depend on the situation.
Well, the thing is too, when the market was changing, like I know some of my girls were saying, should I put offer deadlines in or not? Because they were sure, like, am I going to get a multiple offer situation, or has the market changed so much that we're not going to get an offer deadline on offers? So, and then on the other note, let's say Tuesday passes and you get no offers at all. You got to make sure you take that language out because you look like a deadbeat with.
Now, has that happened to you?
Oh, that has happened to me where you have a listing that's come out a little bit on the high side and, it's got an offer deadline of, May 2nd and, all of a sudden it's, May 7th and, the language
Yeah.
still deadlines due on May 2nd. So you have to watch that too. So,
So
yeah.
what do you do if it passes, and now you have to meet with the seller and explain to them they don't have any offers?
So, I think it's important to have the conversation with the seller ahead of time when you're listing the property, the different scenarios. I think if you always paint, we're going to get multiple offers, you set them up so high that, if they don't get anything, they're going to crash. So
Mhm.
you really say to them, this is the market, and we're going to find out by Tuesday how the market is addressing us and the house and the pricing and everything that's been done on the house. So if we don't get any showings at all, or very few, that means we're way overpriced. If we get a
Right.
lot of showings and we don't get any offers, that may be we're a little bit overpriced. And the thing is, the longer you sit on the market, the less you're going to get of your asking price. So it's better to deal with it quickly instead of, well, I'll wait 3 weeks to take a price adjustment. The market is speaking to you, and it's important to try to get that while it's hot out of the gate as much as possible, because I'm sure you've seen it. There's nothing worse than a property that sits on the market, and you're making your bed every day, cleaning the house every day, and nobody's
Mhm.
showing up. No matter, you could have a blimp balloon show up over the house. I mean, you know
Yes.
it's tired. So you really have to, and it's one, I think, the most challenging things for the sellers is to really, because it's such a personal thing for them,
It
really
is.
listen to that market feedback that those buyers, are giving you, and don't take it personally, don't take it personally. But I think you got to set the sellers up ahead of time that, look at this is, not every house gets multiple offers. And a lot of times that's the indication that the price might be too high on the house, which is
Yeah.
almost a kiss of death. You'd be better off actually pricing the house aggressively so people get excited and put a deadline on it so you'll get that multiple offer situation.
Absolutely. And this happened to me last year and I was freaking out. I had nothing. It was a house in Melrose. We had very, very good activity. And I'm like, oh, this is, we're going to get, in my head, we're going to get offers. Not saying this to the seller. Nothing came in, nothing. So I overnighted them a box of Godiva chocolates because I thought, you better do something because they're going to be mad. And they were both really nice and understanding. And we did another double open house. We got more people in, and we got two offers, and we were able to kind of to leverage them a bit. And we still went over asking, so you
Yeah,
can't panic, and you got to keep the seller from panicking.
right,
You
right.
know, because
Yes.
people do go away. It's starting to get nice out, and you find people go away for the weekend, and maybe they just weren't here, and it is priced okay.
Right. And all you need is two offers for a multiple offer situation. You don't need 25, all you need is two,
Right.
you know.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever gotten one offer on an offer deadline with good activity? So let's say you had good activity, you expected, but you only got one. And what do
Yes.
you do with that?
So I think that's important, because the thing is, the seller's a little disappointed, but the buyer, you have to make them feel very special.
Mhm.
You got to be stroking them like, look at, I mean, and make them feel good about this purchase. Because if they feel they're the only one and nobody else wants this house, it kind of makes them feel like, well, geez, maybe I overpaid, nobody else wants it, maybe something's wrong with it, and it could
Mhm.
be just something that, not everybody likes the same thing, you know.
Yes, true. I like how you said that. You got to make the buyer feel special, and you have to make for me, you have to make the agent feel like you
Yes.
don't want to. I said this to an agent once because he said, "Oh well, geez, they might want to rescind. They might want to come in lower." And I said, don't get cute with us. I said, if you get cute with us, all we have to do is drop this 10% and you will be in a multiple offer situation. So take advantage of your contract now, and they move forward. And the agent wants to get paid, but they also have to, represent the buyer's best interest.
Right, right.
But
Well, that's where I think in this market, more than, the last few years especially, I think this is where negotiating skills are key.
mhm,
I think that is extremely important when people are considering an agent and who they should go to. Because I mean, anybody, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can underprice a house, you can put it on the market, but I really, one of my things that I really like challenging, especially during last year's market, was could I make my commission back plus for the seller? That was my challenge, and
right.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Did you feel like you succeeded?
On some of them, yeah, quite like maybe even double or triple. Yeah,
Right.
it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a neat thing, and you take pride in that, and you take pride in your numbers. And I know you say this all the time that it's not one negotiation when you are representing your seller.
No, you've got negotiation during the offer, during the home inspection, purchase and sale could be, and then what happens if it doesn't appraise? This market is so crazy. What happens if it doesn't appraise? And you got to go back in again and try to negotiate. So
Right.
Yeah, I think marketing is a really good skill, but negotiation in an agent, I think, is key.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of it, and from a buyer's perspective, there's a lot of conditions you can put into the contract to protect them as they
Yes.
go through. One of them is just on the condo. We talked about condos today. Is subject to review of condo docs with
Yes.
no date on it. That's
We,
advantageous for my buyer. The
yes.
the listing agent should say you need to put a date on that because
Well,
otherwise that could go through the contract.
oh yeah, it could go through the contract, and it could say something. Well, the condo docs can't say I can have a dog. I did. It's subject to the condo docs. I
Right.
mean, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as a listing agent, you gotta pinpoint, say there that is. We need to watch that. That's a loophole for them.
And I think, there was one house that I had a lot of offers on last year. We had 43 offers on that. And that was 2 days of like focusing. Just I had like spreadsheets, and it was just like nothing else is happening except this house in
Yeah.
the next 2 days. And because it really came down to every little term and every little offer, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and
And they're
I
so close, some of them probably.
yeah, I think it's like a chess game. I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of fun. I will be honest with you. I do not want 43 offers
See, I love
on a
that.
property. The most I received ever was 30. And I said, you know what? That's what you get for missing the mark on the price. So you're going to read these 30 offers and you're going to dissect them. And the seller's so over the moon when that happens. You
It
know,
is. This was, this particular instance was the perfect storm. These sellers came on when there was not a lot of houses on the market. They were the first ones to come out of the gate. They came out in February.
Mhm.
They came out where the rates were low, the house was looking good, they prepared it inside and out. That's key too. I think if sellers prepare your house ahead of time, at least, I mean, if anything, you can enjoy it.
Mm.
Why do it, try to do it a week before you're ready to come on the market.
Yeah,
So they were the perfect storm. They were going to wait, and they said, "When do you think I should put it on?" I'm like now. There's nothing on. You're the only game in town, and they were like, it was
yeah,
unbelievable. Yeah, it was
that
fun. That
is
was fun.
unbelievable. Some of the numbers we have seen the last few years. I opened, one recently on a listing we had, and I am just shell shocked at the numbers. But
And I
you
don't
just
think,
don't know what people have gone through. If you missed out on 5 houses, you might say, you know what, I'm not missing this one as a
and
buyer.
right. And I think that, my son and I have this competition all the time. And he said, "Mom, the prices are going down." I'm like, "No, they're not, Frank. And they're not going down because you are such a huge age group moving this way that, I think that we're going to stay strong." And I think, our area, we're very fortunate, has, no matter what the national news says, we're holding strong over here. So, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever have reservations about receiving offers from buyers who have not seen the property? So, or one of the two. And I know relocation is different. So I'm not talking about people from Florida, California. I'm talking about, let's say it's a wife and husband, and the husband has seen the house and is prepared to make an offer. The wife was away for the weekend or working, and she had never viewed it. Offer deadline comes, you have that. Do you have reservations with that? Because I have my opinion on it, but I want to try to be quiet.
Okay. So I do. I'm really big into, that person that you choose. You got to be very careful because you don't want that house to come back on the market and lose its momentum. You can lose thousands and thousands of dollars. If the wife had seen it and the husband was away, I might feel a little bit more comfortable.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay, because usually it is the wife and I don't want to sound, sexist here, but it usually is the wife making this decision most of the time, not all of the time. I think some people, like if you got reloads, they just do this all the time. So it's
Yeah,
no big thing.
right.
So I think it depends on who it is. And, one of my agents, I mean, she sold a house, she FaceTimed him. This is
Hmm.
it. Walked him around the house and she sold it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did it. It does make me uncomfortable too, by the way, when one of the two sees it, and I think you hit it right on the head. I did sell one last year for a family that was in Vermont, and this was over on Seton Circle in Andover, and we went through it, and it was a non-Raveis agent that was listing. And for good reason, she said, I have some concerns because your client hasn't come to the property. And I said, listen, as sure as you're born, they're going to buy this house. I know it, and I've worked with them for a while, and I did believe that.
Yeah,
And they
because
did end up, going through with it.
that's good. Yeah. I
But
mean,
as a listing agent, I would be horrifically uncomfortable with that.
I used to be more uncomfortable about it before. I think especially now with all this photography, it's not as bad as it used to be.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, between these Matterports and the videos and the FaceTime, and I mean, you've got a pretty good idea what that house looks like. Where before, you might get, the pictures the realtor wanted put up, and you didn't know the backyard went down like that.
Right. Or even the value of the Google Maps where you can see what the
Yes,
neighbors right and left look, because you might not want to look at a trampoline. You
right,
just might not
exactly.
want to.
Yeah,
Depends.
yeah.
Well, Debbie, this was a lot of fun. I think this
It
was
was.
great, and I look forward to doing our next podcast. I know we would, if we didn't cut this, we would just keep going. It would never end. So,
Well, the man, I
um,
would really like if anybody wants to give us suggestions of what they want to talk about. I would love that. They could write some suggestions in.
I'd love that. Yeah. So either DM us or text us. You can Google us. You'll find our cell phones, and yeah, we would
Right.
love to listen to you but realtors are biased. We like to pick what we like. So, all right, that was a lot of fun. So, well, yeah, look forward to seeing everybody next time.
Thank you so
So,
much.